our catchment area are of 30% free school meals, and in terms of our demographic in the school, that's rising. So our current Year 7 cohort are 34% free school meals at the moment. We think about our most disadvantaged learners in the classroom, and that is lots of initiatives within the classroom to highlight those disadvantaged learners, to uplift them within the classroom, support them, scaffold, differentiate within the classroom area. We put a golden thread through all of our documentation. So what I mean by that is our documentation would be analysed by myself and department leads, and what we do is highlight our disadvantaged learners. So any key priorities in that, we think about the poorest child in mind. So then that is always at the forefront of all of our key priorities. And then in terms of extracurricular, we look at proportional representation in our whole school. So what children are accessing our extracurricular activities, what children are in our school council. And in terms of proportion, what I mean is that we've got 30% free school meal children, so there should be 30% of free school meal children within our student council, extracurricular activities, and so on and so forth. We work really closely with Bedwellty House and Brimback Park and An Iron Leisure, and what we do there is put initiatives in place. So our learning, our classroom environment goes into Bedwellty Park, goes into Brimback Park, goes into the An Iron Leisure, and it ensures then that our children and our community see us within the community. We also utilise our community areas to showcase our children and put events on for our community. So for example, at Christmas time, we had our Christmas concert within a local church, so the community were invited to come in to see that. We go into our local care homes and perform concerts as well in our local care homes, which is fantastic. I've looked to raise our social media presence, and what I mean by that is that we celebrate and share on our social media presence, and we not only share what our children have achieved, but we push local initiatives. So for example, one of our biggest hits this year, we've had over 4,000 engagements of our local warm hub that was posted on our social media, because that was important to our community and it showed that we're caring about it. And at Christmas as well, we work with Blaen and Gwent Council, and we looked at the Christmas gift appeal, and we looked at our most disadvantaged families, and we applied for Christmas gifts for those families, and then we delivered them to those families to give them a more enjoyable holiday. So in terms of measuring impact, this is done rigorously, so it's done half-termly, termly, yearly, and what we look at is any negative dips in performance or positive increases in performance. But in terms of us as a whole school, what we need to do is look at this as a long-term project, because of our, for example, that's why we've really concentrated on our Year 7 learners, because they will experience equity all the way through their teaching and all the way through their experience within Tregedar Comprehensive School, and then by the time they leave Tregedar Comprehensive School, they will have no attainment gap then, and no well-being gap as well, because one of the things that we really need to concentrate in terms of measuring impact is not just the attainment, it is the well-being of our children and our families. All data will show that your attainment gap is massive because of your free school meal learners, and if you raise the attainment and well-being of your free school meal learners, then that will increase the attainment and well-being of your whole school, and not just your whole school. It raises the prospects then of the children who are entering the community into working life within the community, and then that will only then raise the attainment and prospects of your local community, because we as a school see ourselves as the hub of the local community, and we see that, you know, our current cost of living crisis is something that we need to act upon, and those children are the ones who are most deprived at the moment. And if we raise their aspirations, their goals, their futures, then it will only benefit our school and our local community.
The teacher learning strategy is underpinned by the Levy principle of Dr. Rice. Dr. Rice stands for deepening thinking, role modelling learning, impact on progress, challenging expectations, and engagement in learning. As a school, we've developed that as our culture. Every member of staff is expected to be speak in the language of Dr. Rice.
It's a common language, isn't it? It's the common language of learning.
It's absolutely a common approach for us, and absolutely, it's what's been happening now. It's embedded in our culture in the school. And that's been really important for us to see the outcomes that we've had from everybody, speaking that language. It comes through our planning, it comes through our evaluations, it's how our lessons are delivered. Our children are drenched in the language of Dr. Rice. And I think this year what we've seen is that growth in that language, so that our children are now saturated in Dr. Rice and what they do. And that's had a real impact on our pupil and our outcomes.
And the programmes, I think, instill not only that growth in our pupils, but also the growth in staff also.
Yeah, through the entitlement, the professional learning entitlement that they've had, that we ensure that all our staff are understand what the language is. They have the opportunity to go on the programmes themselves.
And the range of programmes, they range from TAs, newly qualified teachers, absolutely, right the way up to senior leaders. So it's about that whole growth at every level.
And even our admin staff have been trained, using the Levy principles, so that everybody's got that common language and that understanding of what Dr. Rice actually means.
And that consistency is key in creating that culture, as Emma said right at the start.
Absolutely vital, that common approach by everybody that's really embedded and made the culture of our strategy work so well within our learning organisation.
The culture of growth, the culture of improvement.
Absolutely. The whole school strategy is very important because it allows us to have that common language, that common approach to excellent teaching and learning across the school.
I think also to add to that, especially in light of the new changes coming into education with the new curriculum, the curriculum for Wales will only be successful if it is delivered through high quality teaching and learning.
Absolutely. And our children in our school have the opportunity through professional learning, our staff, to ensure that they have that consistent approach in the fact that our children are absolutely drenched in the language of Dr. Rice. They have a clear understanding of the skills and what's needed for excellent learning.
Yeah. Lessons also, if we go into the teaching and the learning, lessons need to be highly engaging, relevant, purposeful, and authentic. They need to ensure that pupils are able to make connections across subjects in their learning and be able to transfer that into new contexts.
It's that breadth and depth, I think, of knowledge that we have across the school, not just for our pupils, but for our staff. That common approach, that common language. And that's been the biggest impact, I think, of having that consistent approach, which has been key for moving all the learning forward in our school.
Yeah. And the key principles of Dr. Rice, Emma's already explained to you what that stands for, ultimately is what underpins the key principles of the new curriculum and progression within the new curriculum.
We believe that all staff have an entitlement for professional learning, and in our school, Government Tregedar Comprehensive School, a Levy is just an aspect within that. This year we've been looking at the SLOW survey that our staff have done, and what came out of that was the fact that our staff wanted more opportunities to work collaboratively with each other. In light of that, we've introduced joint development practice groups in our school where staff have opportunities to have rich dialogue and rich conversation about what excellent teaching and learning looks like in our school, sounds like and feels like.
Yeah, and the JDP, that's where we shorten the joint development practice groups. We've also utilised other strategies there, such as the walkthroughs, to again engage our staff and ensure that we are growing capable professionals.
Everything is underpinned with Dr. Rice. What we're looking for is to create that toolkit to allow our staff to be able to use Dr. Rice in such a way that the impact of that is huge in the classroom.
And inspires great teaching. Absolutely. As well as great learning.
Definitely.
In addition to that, we've also ensured that all of our inset days have been dedicated towards developing professional learning for Curriculum for Wales. We've used this time to really innovate in a very effective way this year. That has ensured that we've rolled out the new curriculum with our Year 7s, and we will now be in exactly the same position with our Year 8s in September.
Some of the really impressive work I think that we do also as a school is the work we do with our clusters. I mean, all our cluster schools also are involved in the Levy training and have been part, and they've been, they have the professional learning entitlement where they've been part of the programs. But all the children there also speak the language of Dr. Rice. So you've got children from the age of 3 right the way up to 16, where they understand and have that common approach, so from teaching and from learning. We've been seen as a school of excellence with regards to Alivia programs and the facilitation of that program, and we have schools that come to us to have the program to facilitate to them. We've been very fortunate that we have that lots of the people that have come on our programs have had such an opportunity to grow in the programs. And for an example, we facilitated a program to a teaching assistant who's gone through doing the OTAP program, which is the Outstanding Teaching Assistant program, right the way through to completing her OLA, because she's now a senior member of staff in a primary school. So that growth is so important, and you can see that through the Alivi. But I think because of the excellent, the excellent facilitation of those programs, it's lovely to see those people growing and developing as part of what we offer here at Tregedar Comprehensive School.
Yeah, I think, the example you gave there clearly shows the impact of these programs and about how they really allow staff to grow professionally and personally.
Absolutely, and we've seen that in our staff and also in our cluster schools, but also then in the school-to-school we do with other schools where they want to come onto our programs because they want that opportunity to grow and develop their schools in a similar way that we've done at Tregedar Comprehensive School.
Because we ourselves have been on a real
huge journey
of growth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.